president of Italy walked into the Foro Italico carrying a message and a reward that no one anticipated. Sergio Mattarella, who had witnessed countless defining sporting moments, including World Cups, Olympic Games, and the triumphs and heartbreaks of Italian athletes across every discipline, was present in Rome that afternoon for something entirely different. On this occasion, the 84-year-old head of state was not there to watch an Italian player. Instead, he was there to see Alex Eala. The Filipina sensation, still recovering from the ankle injury that had ended her tournament run, was seated in the royal box when the president approached her. Cameras immediately zoomed in. The stadium seemed to collectively hold its breath, and when Mattarella made his announcement, even the statues of ancient Roman athletes surrounding the arena felt like they were leaning in to listen. Rome, Italy, May 10, 2026. The Foro Italico's central stadium was at the heart of the Italian Open's most anticipated weekend. The semifinals were underway, and the iconic venue, framed by marble figures of classical athletes, was packed to capacity. The crowd formed a sea of Italian flags broken only by pockets of Belgian yellow and French blue, as anticipation rippled through the stands for what was already becoming a historic afternoon. Tournament royalty filled the royal box. Former champions, tournament officials, and dignitaries from across Europe all gathered above the court. But the most distinguished guest had arrived that morning without fanfare. Sergio Mattarella, the 84-year-old head of state of the Italian Republic, had accepted an invitation from Italy's victorious Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup teams to attend a match at the tournament. Just days earlier, he had met Italy's top players at the Quirinal Palace, including Jannik Sinner and other national stars. During that meeting, Mattarella had been careful to downplay any symbolic role he might represent. "I don't want to be seen as some kind of talisman because I'm not one at all," he had said. "But the value of our tennis players, both women and men, allows us to look forward to the Italian Open with renewed and consolidated confidence." Now he sat in the front row of the royal box, flanked by security personnel and federation officials, watching the match with the quiet intensity of a man who has seen history unfold across 8 decades. The atmosphere was focused, almost ceremonial, as the tournament moved through its decisive stages. Then, during a changeover, something drew his attention. In the opposite section of the royal box, partially obscured by a marble pillar, sat a young woman with her left ankle wrapped in a compression bandage. She was not on any stadium screen. Her name was not being announced, but the flags around her told their own story: red, white, and blue, not Italian. They were Philippine flags. Alex Eala. Mattarella leaned slightly toward the nearest tournament official. "Who is that?" he asked. The official leaned in closer. "That, Signor President, is Alex Eala," he said. "She is from the Philippines. She was forced to withdraw from the tournament after injuring her ankle." Sergio Mattarella nodded slowly. He had heard of her. In fact, the entire country had heard of her, not because she was Italian, but because her presence had changed the atmosphere of the Foro Italico. Philippine flags had appeared across Rome in numbers rarely seen for a visiting athlete. Chants of her name echoed through the stands, bouncing off ancient marble statues and filling the stadium with a kind of energy the city was not used to. A 20-year-old player far from home had turned a foreign tournament into something that felt like a homecoming. "I would like to meet her," the president said quietly. Then, without further discussion, the president of Italy rose from his seat. The royal box immediately fell into a restrained silence as officials noticed the movement. It was subtle, almost unremarkable at first, but in that environment every gesture carried weight. Mattarella did not announce his intention. He did not wait for ceremony or protocol to catch up, and yet in that moment something shifted. The attention of the entire box began to follow him. Alex Eala had no idea he was coming. His security detail immediately tensed. Tournament officials exchanged uneasy glances on the broadcast feed. Cameras that had been locked on the baseline rally suddenly panned upward toward the royal box. Sergio Mattarella had begun to move. He walked past the VIP seating area, past federation officials, and past the bronze busts of Italian sporting legends that lined the royal box corridor. Step by step, he moved toward the back section where a young woman sat partially hidden behind a marble pillar, her left ankle wrapped in a compression bandage. Alex looked up. Her eyes widened as she realized who was approaching. Around the stadium, the scattered Philippine flags carried by traveling fans who had followed her journey through victories and heartbreaks seemed to shift in energy, as if the entire crowd had sensed the moment was changing. The chants that had defined her presence in Rome began again, softly at first, then building in volume, rolling through the Foro Italico. Mattarella stopped in front of her and extended his hand. "Signorina Eala," he said, "it is an honor to meet you." Still processing what was happening, she reached out and took his hand. "The honor is mine, Signor President," she replied. The moment carried an unusual weight. Even commentators struggled to continue their broadcast as silence spread across the coverage. The match on court continued in the background, but attention had shifted entirely away from the baseline. At another time, even figures like Pope Francis had spoken warmly about the spirit and devotion of Filipino communities during his pastoral visits abroad. But here in Rome, it was the president of Italy himself standing in front of their emerging sporting icon. And for a brief moment, the tournament, the crowd, and even the city seemed to pause around them. "I have been watching you," Sergio Mattarella said calmly, "not just today but throughout this tournament. The way your people show up for you, it is remarkable, it is moving." He paused for a moment, his gaze steady. "Italy is proud to have hosted you, we hope you will return." The president of Italy had crossed the royal box, stepped away from protocol and shaken the hand of Eala. He had acknowledged her presence, her journey, and the emotional wave she had brought with her supporters into the Foro Italico. Then without warning, he made an announcement that no one in the stadium had anticipated. There was no prepared statement, no visible consultation with advisors, just a measured voice speaking in full view of the cameras. "The Italian Republic recognizes exceptional contributions to sport, to culture, and to the bridge between nations." He said, "It is rare that a single athlete can embody all three." He turned slightly toward the broadcast cameras. The stadium, still vibrating with distant crowd noise, began to feel suspended in silence. Even the commentator stopped speaking. "The tennis match continues," he added, "but today something more important is being recognized." Then he continued, his voice steady but definitive. "Eala has brought something special to Rome this week. Not just her tennis, which has been extraordinary, but her spirit, her resilience, the way her people have shown up for her and the way she has shown up for them." A brief pause followed, the kind that stretches time. "Therefore," he concluded, "I am pleased to announce that Alexandra Ella will receive the Order of the Star of Italy, the highest honor the Italian Republic can bestow upon a foreign national." The stadium gasped. The announcement landed not like a routine honor but like something far larger, something the Foro Italico had never quite witnessed in a tennis context before. Alex stood still, visibly trying to process what she had just heard. The Order of the Star of Italy is not given lightly. It is not given often, and it has never been associated with a tennis player in this way before. To understand the weight of the moment, it is important to understand what the honor represents. The Order of the Star of Italy is one of the most significant civilian distinctions awarded by the Italian Republic. It sits just below the highest order of merit and is reserved for individuals who have strengthened Italy's relationships with the rest of the world. It was originally established in 1947 as the Order of the Star of Italian Solidarity, created in the aftermath of World War II to recognize those who helped rebuild Italy and support its recovery. In 2011, it was reformed under President Giorgio Napolitano, shifting its focus from post-war reconstruction to something more contemporary: the promotion of Italy's cultural presence, international relationships, and global prestige in its modern form. The award is conferred personally by the President of the Republic after consultation with the Council of the Order. It recognizes foreign nationals who have made exceptional contributions to strengthening ties between Italy and other countries. And that is why the moment carried such weight. Ella had not achieved this through diplomacy or politics, but through something far more universal: sport. Through competition, resilience, and presence, she had become a bridge between cultures. Her matches had drawn some of the largest non-Italian crowds the Italian Open had seen in years, transforming sections of the stadium into a sea of Philippine flags and international energy. It was not just popularity, it was visibility, it was connection. And in that sense, the president's words reframed everything happening inside the Foro Italico, not as a simple tennis story, but as something closer to cultural exchange unfolding in real time. Within hours of Sergio Mattarella's announcement, the story had spread far beyond the Foro Italico in the Philippines. It broke like a national moment. Television networks interrupted regular programming. News tickers lit up across every major outlet with a single repeating headline: Ella receives Italy's highest civilian honor. On social media, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming, messages of pride, disbelief, and emotional celebration flooding timelines across the country. For many, it wasn't just about sport anymore. It was about identity, visibility, and recognition on a global stage. "From Manila to Rome," one post read, "from a scholarship at the Nadal Academy to an honor from the President of Italy, she is proof that dreams have no borders." Ella had not won the tournament, and she had not even completed it due to injury. But in the eyes of many supporters, something larger had happened. She had changed the atmosphere of Rome itself, and in doing so reshaped how Italy saw the Philippines, even if only for a moment. The Philippine embassy in Rome issued an official statement expressing gratitude for the recognition. The Department of Foreign Affairs in Manila followed with a formal message thanking both President Mattarella and the Italian people for what it described as an extraordinary gesture of friendship between nations. Back in Rome, journalists turned their attention to the emotional aftermath. Cameras eventually found her family in the stands, Her mother, Ria, who had been seated beside her when the president approached, was asked how she felt. She paused for a long moment, still visibly overwhelmed. "I don't have words," she said quietly, tears still on her face. "I'm just a mother. I just wanted my daughter to be happy. I never imagined anything like this." Eala did not speak to the press immediately after the announcement. She was still processing what had unfolded. The bracelet given by Roger Federer remained on her wrist, a quiet reminder of how far her journey had already taken her. The words of Sergio Mattarella still echoed in her mind, repeating in fragments she could not yet fully organize. Later that evening, she finally posted a single image on her Instagram story, a photo of the Roman sky taken from her hotel window. Beneath it, a simple caption appeared: "I came to Rome to play tennis. I leave with something I never could have imagined. Grazie, Italy, Mahalko ko, thank you Italy, I love you." There was no press conference, no extended statement, just that. And in the hours that followed, the meaning of what had happened began to settle across two nations and far beyond them. Mattarella had not awarded the Order of the Star of Italy because she had won the tournament. She had not. Her run had ended prematurely in the third round, her ankle wrapped in compression, her progress halted by injury. In purely sporting terms, her campaign had stopped short of the final stages. But the award was never about the result sheet. It was about what she represented. She represented the possibility of connection across borders, across cultures, and across languages. She represented sport not just as competition, but as a shared human language capable of carrying emotion further than nationality. She represented the Filipino diaspora, millions of people living and working far from home, often unseen, often unheard, but still carrying their identity with them. In Rome, for a brief but unforgettable stretch of time, they were seen. The Philippine flags that filled the Foro Italico were not just symbols of fandom, they were signals of presence. The chants of Eala echoed off marble statues of ancient athletes, collapsing centuries of history into a single modern moment. And somewhere in that convergence, the president of Italy took notice not of a victory but of an impact. "Italy is proud to have hosted you. We hope you will return," Mattarella had said. But the truth, as many came to understand afterward, ran deeper than that. Italy was not only proud to have hosted her, it was, in its own way, changed by her. And the Order of the Star of Italy, rare, formal, and deeply symbolic, was not a reward for winning matches. It was a recognition of something less measurable but far more enduring: the ability of one athlete to turn a tournament into a bridge between nations. No player in the history of the Italian Open, winner or loser, champion or journeyman, has ever made the kind of impact that Eala made in just 1 week on the red clay of Rome. The question now is simple, but it carries weight. Will she return to Rome next year as a competitor? Or will she return as something larger than that, something symbolic, a living bridge between nations separated by more than 11,000 km, yet momentarily united by the presence of a 20-year-old with a racket, a dream, and a following that transformed an entire stadium? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Court Legacy for more stories that go beyond the scoreboard. The moment itself has already entered Italian Open history. Sergio Mattarella made a surprise appearance at the tournament, walking across the royal box to personally greet Eala. The 84-year-old head of state had only days earlier met Italy's victorious Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup teams at the Quirinal Palace, yet chose this moment on a clay court stage to make a different kind of statement. He announced that the Filipina sensation would receive the Order of the Star of Italy, the second highest civilian honor the Italian Republic can confer upon a foreign national. Established in its modern form in 2011, the award recognizes individuals who strengthen Italy's international relationships and cultural ties across borders. In doing so, Eala became the first tennis player ever to receive the honor. The announcement came after her tournament ended in disappointment. A grade 2 ankle sprain forced her withdrawal from her third-round match against world number 2 Elena Rybakina. But the recognition was never about the result on the scoreboard. It was about something far less measurable and far more lasting. It was about the sea of Philippine flags that filled the Foro Italico. It was about the chants that echoed between marble statues of ancient athletes. It was about how a single player turned a tennis tournament into a shared emotional space between two nations. And ultimately, it was about this: sport at its best is not only competition, it is connection.